Hello, we are the female board members of Chimes Leuven, an organization driven by medical students. Through workshops and lectures, we seek to bring surgery closer to the student. Today we are hosting a suturing workshop like you haven't seen before. By combining theory, practical skills, and an unmissable challenge, we try to put your creativity and skills to the test. By joining the Congress of Junior Orsi, we hope to give women in surgery a more powerful voice. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Doreen and I am one of the board members of Chimes Leuven. In this instruction video, we are going to learn about the simple interrupted suture. Simple interrupted sutures are the most commonly used technique in the closure of the skin. And, as the name already suggests, this technique is relatively easy to use by beginners. In this video, I am going to use a suturing practice kit for Medistitch, which contains a suture pad and holder, 2 nylon surgical sutures, and a suction cup and rope to practice your surgical knot tying technique. Okay, now let's move on to the technique of simple interrupted suture. In order to place the suture, we need following materials: a needle holder, a forceps, a surgical suture, and scissors. It's very important to hold your materials correctly. The needle holder should be held with your dominant hand. Put your thumb through one handle and place your ring finger through the other handle. The middle finger and the index finger are used to stabilize the needle holder. The forceps is held with your other non-dominant hand, in the same way as you would hold a pen or pencil. Gently lift the skin with the forceps and pierce the skin surface with the needle perpendicular to the skin at approximately 8 to 10 mm from the wound edge. Supinate your wrist so that the needle passes through the dermis and rises out of the middle of the wound. Use your forceps to hold the needle while you release your needle holder, and recrest the needle in the same place with your needle holder and pull the thread through. Now gently lift the opposing skin edge with your forceps and reinsert the needle in the middle of the wound. It is very important that your suture is placed symmetrically with the previous one. Again, use your forceps to hold the needle while you release your needle holder and recrest the needle with your holder to pull the thread through. You can now put down your forceps and use your hand to pull the thread through. Leave approximately 5 cm at the end of the thread. To end our suture, we are going to place a surgical knot. Place therefore your needle holder between the 2 ends of your thread, so at the middle of your wound. Grab the long side with your other hand and turn the thread 2 times around your needle holder. Grab with your needle holder the short end of your thread, pull the end through and tighten your knot. Place your needle holder a second time at the middle of your wound and loop the long side 1 time around your needle holder. Grab with your holder the short end of your thread, pull the end through and tighten your knot. Finally, we place our needle holder one last time at the middle of our wound and loop the long side 1 more time around our needle holder. Grab the other hand with your holder, pull the end through, and now your knot is tied. Make sure that your knot is placed next to your wound and not right above it. To finish, cut the ends with the scissors, but make sure you leave approximately 1 cm at the ends. Now your first stitch is placed. We can repeat the first step for our second suture. Make sure that your second stitch is placed next to your previous one with a distance of 1 centimeter. Again, we load our needle in a needle holder and pierce the skin perpendicular to the skin surface. Supinate your wrist to pass the needle through the dermis and grasp your needle with the forceps. Regrasp your needle with the needle holder and pull the thread through. Now gently lift the opposing skin edge with your forceps and reinsert the needle at the same depth and come out with your needle at the same distance from the wound. After we pull the thread through, we can put down our forceps and end with a surgical knot. Therefore, we first place our needle holder in the middle of our wound and wrap the long side of the thread 2 times around it. Grasp the short end with the tip of your needle holder and tighten your knot. Make sure your knot is placed next to your wound and not above it. Next, we wrap our thread just 1 time around the needle holder. And to finish, we wrap the thread another 1 more time around our needle holder. Cut your ends with the scissors. And now your suture is done. This was the instruction video of the simple interrupted suture. I hope it was clearly enough to now start practicing on your own. If you have questions, leave them in the comments and make sure to subscribe on the Chimes Leuven YouTube channel.
Hello, my name is Hannah. I'm one of the board members of Chimes Leuven. In this video, I will demonstrate the performance of a vertical mattress stitch, also known as the Donati stitch. This technique offers closure of deep and superficial skin layers. The vertical mattress stitch offers several advantages. It causes eversion of wound edges and can therefore be used in locations where wound edges tend to invert, like the posterior neck or other concave surfaces. Furthermore, it reduces the tension on skin sutures, it avoids dead space beneath the wound, and it enables early suture removal. Unfortunately, the vertical mattress stitch causes a typical scarring, called railroads, and is therefore not appropriate in cosmetically sensitive areas, like the face. Now let's discuss the technique of the Donati stitch. With the needle holder, insert the needle perpendicular to the skin at a distance of 8 to 10 millimeters from the incision. We call this forehand. Now reinsert the needle at approximately the same depth and, when a needle appears at the surface, grab it with the forceps. The distance between the incision and where the thread appears at the surface should be equal on both sides and approximately 8 to 10 millimeters. Pull the thread through until the free end is only 5 centimeters long. Now change the direction of the needle in the needle holder and reinsert the needle perpendicular to the skin, approximately 1 to 2 millimeters from the incision, on the same side as where the needle appeared on the surface. We call this backhand. Follow the curvature of the needle by making a supination movement with your wrist, and the needle should reappear on the surface of the opposite side at a symmetrical distance. Grab the needle with the forceps, then put down the forceps and use your hands to pull the thread through. Tie the knot the same way as shown in the instruction video of the simple interrupted suture and cut the ends at a minimal length of 10 mm. The result is one deep forehand stitch and one superficial backhand stitch that lie in the same vertical plane.
Hi, I'm Laura Massia, one of the staff members of Chimes Leuven. Today I would like to explain the basics of surgical hand knotting. In this video I will discuss the following items. First, I will start with some education for surgical hand knotting. Afterwards, we'll talk about the basics of surgical knots. Then it's time for the real work, where I will explain the one-handed technique. The slip knot will be shown in the last part of the video. So, let's start. Ligaturing will mainly be used in places where you rather want to avoid a needle if possible. For example, the vasculature and the bile ducts, but you can also use it for deep dermal knotting or tube fixation. In general, while talking about the basic of surgical knots, we have the granny knot, the square knot,
and the surgeon's knot. The granny knot happens when you do 2 loops in the same fashion. It is to be avoided because it tends to lose tension and unravels, but can be used for slip knotting. Square knotting is achieved when you make knots in alternating fashion. It is more secure and doesn't tend to unravel. The surgeon's knot is made by doing a double take on the first loop, followed by a single loop in the other direction. This is used to fixate the first loop. The one-handed technique is a knot consisting of 2 different techniques, the karate chop and the claw. Most surgeons prefer this one-handed knot because it is quite easy and fast to do. The basics to remember here is that one hand holds one end of the suture while the other hand does the work. If you want, it is possible to alternate hands, but I suggest to start by learning it using your dominant hand. So here your dominant hand will do the work while the other hand stabilizes the other rope. Afterwards, when you have mastered this, you can challenge yourself and try it with your other hand. The purpose here is to alternate the karate chop and the claw. Hereby you make a steady knot which will be fixated. This is of course the intention when you want to tie something. On the other hand, we also have the slip knot, where you want to make a moving knot, also called a granny knot. Here you will repeat the same technique 2 times instead of alternating the techniques like you are supposed to do in the one-handed surgeon's knot. You start by making a first throw, for example by using the karate chop. Don't tighten the loop, but instead make a second throw with the same technique. Then let it slide down by pushing the knot away from you, using the tip of your index finger. The hand that stabilizes the rope while doing the throw should not move. Try to straighten the cord so the knot can be moved more easily. After the slip knot, where you made 2 throws with the same technique, you have to lock the knot. This can be done by using the alternative technique. So in this case, where we use the karate chop to make the slip knot, we will fixate the entire knot using the claw. Afterwards, we advise to stabilize everything by doing another surgeon's knot on top. So 1 karate chop followed by the claw. After this theoretical introduction, it is time to practice. I advise you to watch the videos where I explain the knot practically. Repeat it as many times as you want, rewind it, play it in slow motion, do whatever you need to understand it. And then, the only advice that is left is to practice. Practice a lot, because as you know, every expert was once a beginner. Good luck!
At the start you have to choose which hands hold the suture while the other hand does the work. So here you see me doing the one-handed technique, beginning with the karate chop, followed by the claw. Now I will show you how to do it in slow motion. By the karate chop, you flip the suture over your dominant hand, and with the other hand, you place the other side of the suture in parallel. Then you use your index finger to wrap over the left and under the right suture. After this move, you can hold the suture between your middle and your ring finger. Hold it tight and turn your dominant hand with the palm away from you, still holding the suture between your fingers. Now you can re-grab the suture to finish the knot. For the claw, you use your thumb and index finger of your dominant hand, while straightening the suture of that side by fixating that part with your other fingers. Here you make a pistol and span the cord over the outside tip of your index finger and thumb. Then you turn your hand palm away. Make sure your index finger ends at one side of the rope and your thumb on the other side. Now comes the tricky part where you have to do some movements with your index finger. Move the tip of your index finger under the straightened left rope and over the small right side of the rope close to your dominant thumb. Then you turn your dominant index finger inside out, pointing away from you. Stabilize the rope over your dominant index finger by using your dominant middle finger. Re-grab the cord and finish the knot. Here I'll show you again.
So here, your left hand is your dominant hand, and you do actually the same as before, but now you use your left hand as your dominant hand when making the knot, and that's the only difference that is made. So, good luck!